flurry of tactics there in the middle.
So far, it's not looking completely promising for Alireza, purely on a sample size of a whopping 3. The first game, he was a bit better in the scramble. Then it was Hikaru who was better in the scramble, and I would certainly say there, I mean, Alireza was dominating. The king was pressed up against the last rank, but, I mean, it's 2-2.
Yeah, 2-2. And here we see a twist on the London system / Slav. I'm going to say the white bishop came out very, very early. Hikaru reacts in very solid fashion here. And, okay, big question. To take in the center or to push forward, gain space? He has shown kind of fondness for pushing forward, but here it's different as the black b pawn is already advanced.
A throwback opening to like 2007, the Shebanenko Slav A6. Nobody plays like this anymore. Everything is about the center now. Everything is about taking on the c4 square. I mean, who is the last elite grandmaster to play this, by the way?
Oh, it's been a while. I remember prepping this for Peter Svidler as one of his seconds for 2016 candidates, but even then I was thinking it was a bit shaky. Computers like this pawn structure, pawn to c5, giving white extra space, and they find ways to keep that, keep pieces on the board, keep that space advantage. But okay, he goes for the exchange. He wants a more open position potentially.
And after c5, which was not played, instead he took on d5. I think a lot of modern engines then also like h4. Like computers now almost play chess like Go. This might be a terrible analogy because I don't know a huge amount about Go, but they love territory. They just like taking space and then figuring it all out later, much more than humans can understand. None of that matters. Alireza took on d5. We have a similar and symmetrical pawn structure, except black has overextended on the left side of the board. On the queen side, how significant will that be?
Yeah, there are holes. The black knight, for example, cannot come forward to c6. It would be loose. There'll be tactics against that piece. The bishop, therefore, comes out, but slightly blocked, slightly misplaced. I wonder how quick white's development will be in the next few moves. Can he take advantage? Maybe a quick knight to e5 jump. And looks very harmonious, easy to play for white.
You know who would play knight e5 in h4? Arjun Erigaisi. Like, without even thinking, you know, you just drop him into the position. I feel like Hikaru, in the modern age of computers, is less about playing h-pawn moves in every single game. Hikaru actually went back to old openings that are now ignored and just worked on them. And now you can do that. This is kind of useless for basically everybody here, but like you can actually go back to old, you know, openings that went out of fashion for 10, 15 years at top level and use the engine to make them playable. His position's not very pretty, but good luck cracking it open.
Yeah, it's not pretty, but it is solid. Not too many weaknesses for black. Almost symmetrical pawn structure. Yeah, Arjun, he would be looking at it saying, this is the best Jabava London I've ever seen. Pawn on c2, out the way. The knight on c3 looks great. But okay, maybe Hikaru not enjoying it as much as we thought, spending a bit of time now.
Yeah, to be fair, I mean, here in Blitz or Bullet, I would play g4 without even... But I think that move is much stronger if black has already castled. If he hasn't, I mean, it still could be good. Alireza is definitely looking at g4, h4, knight e5, or short castle. Like,
yeah.
He's definitely looking at 4 different moves, David, okay? I promise.
And stylistically, it's either knight e5 with pawn pushes, or it's castles without any pawn pushes. So it's kind of 50-50 almost, and now the temptation has to be there. Black has castled. Is it into the storm?
Doesn't this just look awful? Like, it just looks like a terrible position for black, but it's like not. He's just in time to trade off some pieces.
But there will come a moment where he might have to be very accurate to avoid catastrophe. Queen to h3 is very typical checkmate patterns here against the h7 square. Okay, if he doesn't break through, though, if there's no checkmate attack on the black king side, then I can see how it might be fine for black. b4 coming, the knight coming round. Be careful, though, pressure on h7.
And it looks like with black you can just play knight e4, but you definitely can't because white can play f3 as far as I can see, and that just, you lose time because you have to go back to f6, and then you probably just lose the game. So he plays g6. Doesn't look very pretty, and folks at home and in the arena, do not do this. When you have 7 pawns, do not all put them on the same color, please. That's really don't try this at home. But there is no checkmating threat anymore.
He's got enough defensive pieces nearby. Yes, white can slide into some holes, hit a rook, but the rook just moves. The game goes on. I'm trying to think what Alireza would do here. He would want to bring more pieces into the attack, maybe bring this knight round somehow. I could see him bring the bishop forward, maybe f4, type pawn pushes. He wants to attack. He feels it. But no, he goes back.
Wow.
He wants to come forward again. We've seen him play knight g5 already in this match.
Yes, he's trying to put it on the rightful square, but now knight e4 is a very different quality move, although you have to consider some... Knight h5, wow, that is provocative.
g4, Ale, do you play it? Do you kick the knight back? that pawn doesn't move backwards.
Is Hikaru going for f5? Surely not, right?
It's the worst Stonewall Dutch I've ever seen. F5.
Yeah, it's... What was the idea? He knew this was going to happen, so now what, right? Like now, Alireza has to decide what he's committing to. Hikaru has to decide what his next move is. Knight e2, okay.
I think it's just that tactic you mentioned is maybe his match strategy, provocation. He just wants to say, okay, play g4, please. I'm going to survive the attack, and your king will be weak later. Okay, or maybe just trade off pieces. But long term, white's going to have the better bishop. Black's going to be stuck with a bad piece on b7.
I feel like now this g4 plan is really a problem for black. g4, queen h6.
Yeah, maybe knight f6 stops that for a move or two, but...
It feels so... Then knight g3, and I feel like I've made some progress. But I don't know. It's much easier to move their pieces, right?
Exactly. Like, I agree. Blitz game, it's got to be tempting. Pawn to g4. Alternative, maybe more positional. Knight to g3, knight f4. But no, it's Alireza. It is g4. G for go. He's going for it.
Yeah, we have similar playing styles. He's just 600 points higher rated. Knight f4 played. And you also have a really annoying positional squeeze. And actually, Magnus is really good at this. He'll take an attacking position, and very quickly you'll just have no positional play anymore, and he'll beat you in an endgame.
Yeah, you could easily imagine somehow it's one of the white knights against the black light squared bishop just stuck behind its own pawn chain. Maybe the white bishop will calmly move, the white knight will kind of sit back and just look at some dart squares. So many holes in the black camp. I mean, I could highlight half a dozen dart squares here.
That's what happens, 7 pawns on light squares. Your dark squares take a little bit of a hit. Not an easy spot for Hikaru. Could go downhill very quickly. White is threatening some sort of g5 maybe you have to calculate, or queen h4, just slowly improve, and knight g5, this type of stuff. The other knight can also maneuver, but be to h3 if you really need the other one to stay on f3. I mean, you could play like 20-48 here with your pieces. Just slide them around like this, and Hikaru's in some trouble.
Yeah, he's lacking a plan. That's the problem with black. The only active plan I can see is maybe playing something like queen to e7 and trying to blow open the center. Even that would kind of ask questions whether black is fully ready. At the very best, black will get an isolated pawn in the center. But he needs to speed up. He needs to find a solution. Maybe he wants all the rooks off the board, but white's attack might even continue there.
Yeah, small thing, by the way, as we have just a brief pause. I don't know the extent of this. Okay, we have a rook trade and queen b8 controlling the center, and also maybe bringing the rook, very clutch by Hikaru, controlling the knight e5 jump and rook e8, rook c8. Super nice idea. All I was going to say is maybe some of these motifs and ideas of the Jubava London, Alireza picked up with. He did work with Daniel Naroditsky for a little bit for the Grand Swiss. In Uzbekistan today, we've dedicated, obviously, a lot of time, segments, and so on to Daniel. May he rest in peace. So maybe they actually played training games in the Jubava. It's one of the most fun openings in Blitz. In long games, you do kind of sit and like, why are all my pieces on these squares? But look at this. I mean, you just have a very kind of straightforward attack. Problem is the other guy is not just going to straightforward fall over. He's going to defend.
Exactly. Even our chat there at the bottom of the screen saying the Jubava London, there's huge shades of that opening here. This is the best Jubava he will have ever had. But, okay, how to turn a positional advantage into something more tangible here. Does he push forward his pawn? Does he inch forward with the queen? I quite like this move, Levy.
Yeah, to go knight e5, and yeah.
Exactly, something into e5. Kind of wait for black to trade off the rooks, get the queen deflected, and then jump in. He does inch forward. Nice
look at that, look at that. Very well timed. Now the knights can't easily move. Rook c8, you can maybe even take it and then put a knight on e5. And that would be a really big problem.
Great move, our audience approved. But 40 seconds for Alireza. The scramble is starting maybe earlier in this game than it has in some of the other ones.
Yeah. The hell are they clapping at? What's going on? Whoa, wait. e5 on the board.
What? Is that a pawn? Knight takes e5, a double question mark. Queen takes f6. This was the idea. This is why Alireza put his queen on h4. g4 is hanging, but there's no way home from that square. The white queen might just slide back, trap that knight with the help of some of its pawns a few moves later. This is missed. Maybe he just forgot that the white knight defends the bishop. Oh, yeah. He goes in. Is that a doomed piece, Levy?
We just discussed this whole idea, right?
Queen g5.
It's just so shocking. Queen g5 indeed.
Okay, the f-pawn defense. So there is a way back for the black knight, but even that would drop a pawn due to some pins along the g-file.
Knight takes g6 looks unbelievably strong.
It's just about whether now or a bit later.
Or, yeah, bishop f5, of course, just wins a pawn. Easy.
Boom. You can go up a pawn, zero risk attached. Hikaru miscalculating, and white is totally winning according to the evaluation bar. Look at the black queen not contributing, the black bishop just out of it as well.
That's so shocking. What a blunder. And both guys shook their heads. You would have no idea who's winning here. Alireza also shaking his head, by the way.
Oh, king in the corner. Almost some sacrifices.
Yes. Alireza's got 4 seconds to figure things out. He has done some crazy stuff in this match, but David, I don't think so. Queen e5 for white next.
Yeah, you can play this positionally, as you said. Transform that advantage now. Get the queens off, grind that one down. The knight's coming in still. I just don't see black having any counterplay. Hikaru has to play the long game, just survive, 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 and hope to get an opportunity back in. But as you say, queen e5, clinical.
And the rook comes in, the knight comes in, knight d8. Just a shocking, shocking oversight there. In an otherwise very even game, it seemed like Alireza was pushing, but Hikaru was defending.
And here we go. White's got a beautiful knight cemented now. The pawn in the center as well. Pass pawn, protected pass pawn incoming. f4. But good job by Hikaru trading off those pieces.
David, 1 second for Hikaru. He has to make a move. If Hikaru saves this game, there have to be police waiting for him at the end of the hall for theft. And he doesn't. And that's a fork, and that's Alireza winning.
Ooh, basic fork ends the game. That is heartbreak, but it was already close to hopeless for Hikaru. Great game, Alireza Firouzja.
Yeah, absolutely. I think players are hesitating there. They will have a break. They're clicking through it. Yeah, David, queen h4, just one move, applying a little bit more pressure. And then, of course, e5 was just ill-advised. It was not the right moment to time it, as Hikaru continues to ruminate there. Tough one, you know, because when you bounce back and you scramble, you kind of feel like you get control back of the match. But so far, it's felt like Alireza's the one pressing.
It really has. Even some missed opportunities for Alireza. And here we see Hikaru, of course, playing through the game. But it went wrong quite early, at least strategically. And he never really got a foothold back in. He'll hope to up his game and increase the tempo in the second half of this portion.
Yeah, absolutely. Queen b8 was really nice. It felt like to control the center. It did destabilize the knights a little bit, but then he was going to bring his rook, and then he was going to trade, and so on. But so far, halfway through the 5+1 segment, it is Alireza Firouzja with a 1-game lead, which is actually what you predicted, only at the end.
Yes. If it's still the same at the end, then I'll take some credit. But yeah, still a long, long way to go in this match, of course. The 5+1 is far from over. The 3+1 is maybe where Hikaru is going to shine the brightest.
Yes. They have a 4-minute break there. We have a bit of a countdown. I don't know if we're just going to keep on playing. I think so. We might get an interview with Alireza in the player tunnel. Maybe not. And there's a scoreboard that needs to be fixed in the... What happened downstairs? Like, I came up here and everything broke.
All's good up here in the commentary booth, but yeah, there's always hitches, glitches, but yeah, we'll get things up and running. And I think, yeah, at least the players seem to have shaken off all that disturbance earlier. Especially Alireza, he just looks calm. And we talked about his form. It's always a question mark. Has he come in strong?